Any sane person with a mentally stable mind can see there is this huge attack against male masculinity. इसमें कोई शक नहीं है, ज़्यादतियाँ हुई हैं, as we speak हो रही होंगी. Men have been at fault, especially in this society. बिल्कुल है. Thing one needs to fear is a weak man, not a masculine man. That should be a line which should not be crossed. And ये दोनों end से ये तजावुज़ हो रहे हैं. You need to understand 99% of the general public, they'll believe pretty much anything they hear. Lekin I think there's more to a man than just having a six-pack and other things. I think what makes a man is how well he fulfills his responsibilities. जब तक बॉडी बिल्डिंग कॉम्पिटिशन्स नहीं होते थे, इतना एक्सट्रीम लेवल पे जिस्म ले जाने का कोई जवाज़ ही नहीं था. अगर प्रीहिस्टोरिक स्टोन एज की बात करें तो इफ़ यू वर नॉट फिजिकली फिट यू वुड नॉट बी एबल टू हंट. तो द पीपल हु यूजुअली हेट एंड्रू टेट आर द टॉक्सिक फेमिनिस्ट्स, उनको वो ज़्यादा चुभता है. दीन के रास्ते पे चलो, कुरान ने जो आपको हिदायत दी है उस पे चलो, everything's gonna be okay. Make sure they have this 45 minutes a day where they are running and they're enjoying any sports activity. People think that if you sleep equivalent of 8 hours throughout the day, it's the same thing. It's not. जो सबसे ज़्यादा मेरे क्लाइंट्स को मुझसे डांट अगर पड़ती है वो इस बात पे पड़ती है when they start calculating every bit and piece over there. Why are you making your life so complicated? वो आप उसको साल बाद भी मिलेंगे वो तभी एब्स ही कर रहा होगा और उसके तभी एब्स नहीं बनेंगे.
Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to another episode of How Does It Work, a podcast by Pro Pakistani. We have a special guest today. Back on the podcast is transformational specialist Hassaan Mahmood. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Assalamu alaikum Shan, how are you?
Good sir.
We're back for the second dance.
For the second dance, yes.
Good to be here.
मैं आपको story ही सुनाने वाला था तो मैंने कहा we'll start rolling the camera first. तो आपकी जो आप हमारी podcast पे पिछली दफ़ा आए थे there was a certain clip जो there's a village in India something with a P, अब मेरे नाम जहन से निकल गए, वहाँ पे ना comments video, or we were looking, so that clip did 70% of 1 million 2 million views in India, और वो सब आपको जानते हैं उधर. एक कोई गांव है कहीं इंडिया में, तो if you guys are watching please do let us know कि कौन सा गांव है.
I would love to follow up on that clip.
हाँ,
I have no idea what this is about.
And it's fascinating because it's not just that they watch the podcast. Fazila Abbasi was on the podcast as well, and उनको भी काफ़ी clients मिले from India and a lot of Indians watch it, but specifically आपका तो they knew before our podcast, so they knew you. They were like, oh, Hassaan bhai. And I'm like, ये आप इस गाँव में, इंडिया में मशहूर कैसे हैं?
Alhamdulillah. That's great news actually. But India and, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, जितने हमारे neighboring countries, I've always received a very amazing reception from them, especially India and Bangladesh. I think we're all in this together. So this is very encouraging and very sweet to hear. But I would love to follow up on that. पता लगाते हैं इसका.
मैं आपको इसके बाद भेजता हूँ. अच्छा चलिए, let's talk about something else that I wanted to discuss with you. कि you know how women, आजकल there's a big debate going on about beauty standards and women के यार वो आपको objectify करते हैं, वो टीवी पे जो देखते हैं उस तरह होता जाता है etc etc. कल मेरा एक दोस्त है आपकी तरह, वो बॉडी बिल्डर टाइप है, तो मेरे को और उसको दोस्त कहता है यार अपने एब्स दिखाओ, कहता है यार मुझे 5 मिनट दो, you went to the bathroom, I think if you pee तो your abs, I don't know, वो मुझे कुछ कह रहा था.
That's good control.
तो उस बंदे ने 5 मिनट लगाए हैं just to show us, like lift his shirt. तो मैं सोच रहा था कि is there an unrealistic expectation from men as well, aesthetically speaking, कि लगना कैसे चाहिए? मतलब अब ऐसी टीवी पे आप बंदे देखना शुरू हो गए हैं. पहले तो ऐसे होता था ना कि there was the odd Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now even like Kevin Hart, एक comedian है, he has a six-pack. Everybody has.
He has a very good physique actually.
He has a very good physique. So everybody has one. So it's almost considered to be like, मतलब is there a pressure now on men to look a certain way, you think?
I think the pressure to be fit was always there since the beginning of time. अगर prehistoric stone age की बात करें तो if you were not physically fit you would not be able to hunt, right? So over time I think it's just revolved. It's always been there. Same for men and same for women. तो कुछ मेरे ख्याल से खास बदला नहीं है. I think because of social media now probably more light is being shed on it. लेकिन जिस तरह मैं पहले भी कहता हूँ कि अभी जो taboos highlight हो रहे हैं, these were always there. It's not like rape अब ज़्यादा होना शुरू हुए हैं, ये child molestation अब जाके ज़्यादा शुरू हुई है. It had always been there. But the power of social media, now we get to hear about this more often and in a more enlightened way as compared to, let's say, 50, 60 years ago. So the pressure was always there and it will continue to increase. It's not going to go down. ये बढ़ता जाएगा and that's not necessarily a good thing. It's like a double-edged sword because the expectations at times are a bit too much, don't you think? थोड़ा ज़्यादा ही आजकल है.
यही बात मैं कह रहा था, जैसे स्टोन एज है. स्टोन एज में I was reading or actually I was watching a podcast जिसमें वो बात कर रही थी कि स्टोन एज में इस तरह to have the physique that people have now with 2%, 3%, 4% body fat, was not possible. आपको इतना आपको पता
It's
ही
not
नहीं
healthy either.
It's not healthy because आपको वो access to water खाना तो था ही नहीं ना. आपको ये अभी तो हमारी जिंदगी क्या है, फ्रिज खोला पानी पिया you're fine, या फ्रिज खोला कुछ खाया. So you can go down to like my friend yesterday who will first get rid of the water weight by going to pee and then do this and then.
I don't think if your friend went to the washroom to pee and came back to show his abs really did make a difference. A 5-minute thing doesn't really make a difference. Maybe उनके जाने की शायद वजह कुछ और थी, but I don't think एक 5 मिनट के उससे abs का कोई फर्क पड़ेगा.
Most likely. मेरा point लेकिन इसमें ये है कि the 5% body fat, the in the Stone Age, did people even look like that?
Not at all. Not at all. That's a huge misconception. Nowhere in the history of mankind was any man designed to be under 10% body fat. That's never happened. ये जो चीज़ें अभी देखने को हमें मिल रही हैं, this came about when competing bodybuilding started entering the visual media. जब तक bodybuilding competitions नहीं होते थे, इतना extreme level पे जिस्म ले जाने का कोई जवाज ही नहीं था. In fact, when Arnold, अभी आपने उनकी Netflix पे documentary देखी है, जब वो competition के लिए US पहुंचा, तो उसके ऊपर ये तनकीद थी कि you are holding a lot of fat in water. And they had to cut him down. Imagine that. So this is ये पिछले 50-60 साल के अंदर ये चीज़ें आई हैं. इतना एक extreme के ऊपर इसको लेके जाना, this was never there before in the history of mankind.
And how related is this to masculinity now? Like pumping iron is considered to be manly. I know, obviously, you're in the fitness industry. लेकिन is a man if he looks a certain way, or what sort of makes a man these days?
Well, honestly, if you ask me, I would not relate being masculine with the sort of physique you have. Coming from me, that might sound very strange. Lekin I think there's more to a man than just having a six-pack and other things. I think what makes a man is how well he fulfills his responsibilities, how well he protects the ones that he loves, how well and how seriously he provides for his family. देखें, कुरान में अल्लाह ताला ने मर्द को 2 वाज़े हुक्म दिए. And we all know what that is. To be the protectors and the providers of your women, of your family. तो अगर जितने भी लोग ये पॉडकास्ट सुन रहे हैं, अगर किसी को सुसाइडल प्रेशर की वजह से लगता है that you need to be a big guy or a ripped guy in order to look manly, that's not true. Yes, you do need to be fit and healthy, but not necessarily have a six-pack or under 10% body fat. I don't really believe that.
आपने भी कहा कि your responsibilities of sort of protecting your family and providing for your family. The fitness element of that could be correlated कि आपको obviously you want to live a long and healthy life. अगर आपने अपने बच्चों का ख्याल रखना है, अगर आप खुद you're not fit, then you can't do that. But other than that, I mean, do you also feel like there is a change? अभी conversations में आ जाता है कि यार because of the sort of newer generation, Gen Z mindset of, I don't know if it's woke or what you want to call it, but the idea is that we make sure that men are more aware of a lot of the wrong things that they did in the past, which is good, right? But has that had an impact on the toxic masculinity is almost looked at as a bad thing now, right? It's toxic. And then जब आप सोचते हैं masculinity, the sort of brand ambassadors are, I don't know, Andrew Tate and people like that, and then you don't know कि यार you can't, कुछ बातें वो शायद सही भी कह रहा हो, but can you like support that argument because of his other problem?
I think he's one of the smartest brains out there on social media.
इसमें कोई शक नहीं है. And along with brains is the conversational capability, right? वो एक argument को frame करने में the way he makes you connect to it is fantastic. Obviously, the problems are more related to the charges that he has in Romania. The problems are related to certain bits of small clips of things he said about women's rights.
A long time ago. I think everybody is allowed a certain, margin of error. That involves me, that involves you. And, उसकी भी काफ़ी चीज़ें एक पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट से निकाल के उसको मिस पोर्ट्रे करने तो आजकल बहुत आसान काम है. बट लेट्स द वे आई लुक एट इट इज, आप किसी की अच्छी चीज़ें से सीखो, बुरी को इग्नोर कर दो. तो उसके पास अच्छी बातें करने को बहुत है. तो द पीपल हु यूजुअली हेट एंड्रू टेट आर द टॉक्सिक फेमिनिस्ट्स, उनको वो ज़्यादा चुभता है. लेकिन इसके अलावा आई थिंक ही टॉक्स अ लॉट ऑफ सेंस.
डू यू थिंक एक एको चेम्बर वाला इशू भी है? एको चेम्बर क्या होता है कि अब सोशल मीडिया पे हो जाते हैं, एल्गोरिथम शोज यू व्हाट यू वांट टू सी, राइट? सो इफ आई वांट टू सी स्टफ लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल एंड्रू टेट, तो वो मुझे और एंड्रू टेट दिखाएगा और स्पोर्ट्स दिखाएगा, वही चीज़ें दिखाएगा जो मैं देखना चाहता हूँ. a feminist or a toxic one, like you said, or a feminist in general will just see content she wants to see and that will sort of formulate her opinion and उससे होता है कि क्या होता है कि एक confirmation bias मिलती है.
Beautifully said, yeah.
Right? So आपने अगर 5 आर्टिकल ढूंढे, उस 5 में से जितने आपके ओपिनियन से एग्री करते हैं आप उनसे एसोसिएट करके एज अ फैक्ट यूज करते हैं. होता क्या है कि आपके ओपिनियन बनते जाते हैं, उनके ओपिनियन बनते जाते हैं. लेट्स से यू हैव 2 डिफरेंट ओपिनियंस ऑन एनीथिंग. इट कुड बी अबाउट कॉफी, राइट? आप दोनों ने एक ओपिनियन अब फॉर्मुलेट कर लिए और क्या हो रहा है कि we
have 2 extreme ends now. And nobody is ready to bulge. Nobody is ready to compromise.
And nobody is ready to come together to come
Absolutely,
to...
yeah.
You don't have to be a horrible person to be masculine and you don't have to be...
Let's make this very simple. Last show pe bhi we spoke about this. I'm sure जिन्होंने हमारा last podcast देखा तो उन्हें बातें शायद याद हो. There is, as we speak, without a doubt, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, whoever wants to. Without a doubt, any sane person with a mentally stable mind can see there is this huge attack against male masculinity in the current era. और इसके अंदर कोई शक नहीं है. This is a huge propaganda in the works for a long time. Now let's see. So according to the toxic feminism, not feminism, right? Toxic would be masculinity as well. So before people misjudge what we're trying to say here, let's make that very clear. What's wrong in a man being masculine? Isn't that what a woman should want? Isn't that what the children of the man would want? The thing one needs to fear is a weak man, not a masculine man. एक masculine man किसको बोलते हैं? Like we just discussed in the beginning of the show. Someone who lives up to the expectation that people expect from his family, his children, obviously the people around him. That's not a bad thing, right? It's a good thing. I think that should be encouraged. The problem is, when you attack that masculinity, there's always going to be a backlash. There will be an aftermath. And currently, the aftermath is being seen as we speak. Have you ever seen men so mentally weak and suicidal since the beginning of time till the current era? Have you seen suicide rates go so high? Of course not.
Why do you think that is?
The attack against male masculinity. The attack against masculinity. अब ये पोर्ट्रे किया जाता है कि मर्द जो है बड़ा ही खुदगर्ज है. मर्द जो है वो औरतों के हकूक पूरे नहीं करता. मर्द ऐसा, आई एग्री, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है. ज्यादतियाँ हुई हैं, एज वी स्पीक हो रही होंगी. Men have been at fault. In this society, especially in this society, बिल्कुल है. आप सैलरी बेसिस पे बात कर लें, और there are lots of ways we can articulate this conversation. But to attack masculinity, कि यार it's okay if you dye your hair pink and do this and do that, everything is being swept under the carpet in the name of having a broader vision and a more receptive mindset. I think there has to be a line to be drawn. There should be a line which should not be crossed. And ये दोनों end से ये तजावुज़ हो रहे हैं. And you can see that for yourself if you take a look around the society. Have you seen men as mentally unstable and this day and age as ever before? So we do have that problem.
And what do you think, the liberal sort of agenda or the mindset is कि यार, everyone should be allowed to do as they please. Agar someone wants to be, X, Y, or Z, that's something.
Yeah, they want to identify as X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Then that's their lifestyle, right? So, what sort of? There's 2 schools of thought here. What's wrong with that?
I came across a news article this morning where a 64-year-old man was identifying as a 6-year-old girl with pony braids and all. So that's a mental disease, right? So like I said, there has to be a line drawn. There's a difference between insanity and sanity. Let people live the way they want to. As long as it does not interfere with you or your values, it's okay. उनके लिए उनकी कब्र है, उनका दीन है, उनकी समझ है. But ये कुछ चीज़ों पे I think there has to be, a little precaution. थोड़ी एक limit होनी चाहिए. Not everything can be swept under the carpet in the name of, free speech and everything. You have to be answerable. अगर free speech इतनी ही आसान है, then why do we have reactions to everything? फिर तो आप सब चीज़ों को जाने दो. तो free speech की भी लिमिट होनी चाहिए, और इस तरह की जो आजकल ड्रामेबाजियाँ देखने को मिल रही हैं, there should be a limit to that as well. And not everybody is open to that reception, by the way. It's turning out to be a bit of a circus show right now.
And, we were talking before this about I just became a father.
And congratulations once again on air.
Thank you. So you have kids, and you're in sort of this world which is new for me as well, where you have to also think about, they're going to grow up in a different era. What values do I want to inculcate? What bits of the new do I want to bring in? What bits of the old, जो हमारे बाप दादों की sort of culture है, do I want to continue keeping it? You're responsible for formulating, or at least attempting to formulate certain principles and value systems for your children. In a world that's sort of shifting, how hard is that to do, and what have you sort of thought of?
I'll be honest, this thought has many a times given me sleepless nights, क्योंकि जिस दौर में अब हमारे बच्चे बड़े होने को जा रहे हैं, things are not going to be easy for them and for us. और इसका जवाब कि how will I go about it? Very simple. दीन के रास्ते पे चलो, कुरान ने जो आपको हिदायत दी है उस पे चलो, everything's gonna be okay. और start them young. My daughter is about to turn 7. तो जो उसको मैंने चीज़ें सिखानी है वो अभी से ही मैंने और उसकी माँ ने उसको सिखानी है. Because after a certain age, you cannot come up with something new or a new belief or a new practice. The kids are going to reject that, right? So you start young. You tell them. And instead of forcing them, instead of coercing them, you start teaching them about logic. This is one way and this is the other way. This is what this going to end up with. This is how this going to go. And अगर आप सुन्नत हदीस कुरान इस्लाम का हाथ थामे रखेंगे तो ज़माने की फितनों से इंशाल्लाह हमारा रब बचा ही रखेगा हमारे बच्चों को
इंशाल्लाह. एंड अगर अभी आपके पास एक साइड नोट क्वेश्चन, वैसे फिटनेस इज दैट गोइंग टू प्ले अ पार्ट इन योर चिल्ड्रंस लाइव्स फ्रॉम अ वेरी यंग एज?
आई थिंक ये ऐसी चीज़ है जो हर पेरेंट को बहुत यंग एज से अपने बच्चों में करनी चाहिए.
कैसे?
स्टार्ट देम यंग. एनी फिजिकल एक्टिविटी, एनी स्पोर्ट, anything at all. Make sure they have this 45 minutes a day where they are running and they're enjoying any sports activity. It could be anything they enjoy. Koi sport hai, your kids enjoy playing in the park, football, anything for that matter. So it's absolutely up to the child, but make sure they do get some physical activity in a day. Bachcho mein there's this pent up energy. You'll see that in a couple of months when Mikhail grows up. You'll see. If you start containing that energy, the result is not going to be very pleasant. तो अगर आप उनको दिन के कुछ अर्सा, कुछ टाइम दिन में you allot specifically for the physical activity, उनकी लाइफस्टाइल का हिस्सा बन जाएगा. And before you know it, as they grow up, inshallah, they'll keep it a part of their life.
Do you think that's important for people as well? Is that the reason that...
That's what I've been saying since the last 13 years. It's important for everybody. आप देखिए, आप इसको अपने जिस्म का एक सदका समझ लिया कि ना, कि अल्लाह ने आपको एक जिस्म दिया है. In order for it to be mobile, functional, you need to give it a little bit of respect. But sadly, I think आजकल तो 24 घंटे में 1 घंटे की इज्जत भी हम नहीं देते उसको. I'm a trainer, right? So I listen to every sort of excuse under the sun when somebody does not want to train. You name it, everything. फौदियाँ क्या हो गई, तो everything. तो unless and until you don't respect it, trust me, it's not going to respect you back. तो sooner or later, I said, everybody realizes. कुछ टाइम से realize कर जाते हैं, कुछ को ज़रा फोर्सफुली रियलाइज होता है, लेकिन रियलाइज हो जाता.
एंड डू यू थिंक कि अभी, आई मीन द वे द सॉर्ट ऑफ सिनेरियो इज कमिंग अलोंग, हम फिटनेस को जिस तरह लेके चल रहे हैं, इज इट कैन यू ट्रिक योर माइंड टू बिलीव इनटू समथिंग? जिस तरह व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू गेट एट इज, लोग कहते हैं कि यार अगर आप सुबह को उठो एंड यू गेट सम सनशाइन इन, तो वो उससे होता है आपका मूड बेहतर होता है. अगर आप सुबह को वर्कआउट करो तो उससे होता है एंडोर्फिन्स रिलीज होते हैं. आपने बात की थी थोड़ी देर पहले अबाउट men and struggling with suicidal thoughts and struggling with all sorts of other problems. Can your body dictate your mind? Is that possible? Matlab, is depression...
The mind dictates the body. It's the other way around.
The mind dictates the body.
The mind dictates the body.
And that discipline of working out, or that discipline of taking care of your body. I have a friend used to eat very unhealthy, live very unhealthy till about a year ago. फिर उसने जिम भी शुरू किया, MMA भी शुरू की, गॉट रियली इनटू इट. उसकी चलो फिजिक तो बहुत बेहतर होगी, नो डाउट.
Have you started training? Because the last time we spoke, you were not. Have you started yet?
No, I play football and stuff like that. मैं तो ट्रेनिंग नहीं करता.
But you were very honest about it the last time as well. You said you don't have any interest in training.
No, casual here and there, कभी कभार, just to stay not fat or not obese. That's the best I've got so far. लेकिन वो the person actually, जिस दोस्त की मैं बात कर रहा था, is the first time I've actually thought about going to the gym is because of him. And I'll tell you why. It's not कि physical तो चलो he looks better, but mentally ना he seems so much better. He seems वो एक चीज़ कहते हैं ना डिले करना ग्रेटिफिकेशन को, लाइक आप थोड़ा सा रिलैक्स कर, मतलब यू कैन बी मोर पेशेंट, you can be more, because I guess it focuses you for a longer term. The effects it's had on his personality and his work and his not related to fitness चीज़ें जो हैं सारी, is what impresses me the most. क्योंकि एक बंदा है ना जिसको आप डे टू डे रोज़ मिलते हो और आप उसकी sort of transition देखते हो. The transition में एक तो like I said fitness है, the other part is here. His focus levels are better, his mood is better, he's almost evolved because of going to the gym. So what my question is, do you think that part of depression, suicidal thoughts, etc., is something that fitness, sports can sort of help with?
Every condition is not depression. In as much as certain people would not like me saying this, हर case depression का नहीं होता. We term it as depression. Not everything is depression. अगर आप so-called depression cases, the majority, right? I'm not saying there are people with who do not have depression. Of course they are. I've come across them. I've trained them. Like every case does not qualify as a depression case. When you look into their lifestyle, they're up the whole night. They're sleeping the whole day. They have absolutely no physical activity throughout the day. No exposure to sunlight. They're eating junk. So what do you expect is going to be the outcome of that? Right? Lethargy, laziness and all of that. So before you term somebody as depressed, please make sure you first have a certain checklist you follow first. उसके बाद आपको पता चलता है कि वाकई में डिप्रेशन केस है कि भी नहीं. Not everything is depression. It's a very serious term which gets thrown around a bit too much for anybody's liking nowadays. तो अभी जिस तरह आपने कहा sunlight की क्या फ़वायदे हैं, I don't need to go about it, right? We all know what sunlight does to the human body, especially our hormonal balance, our bone health, bone mass density, and our overall feeling of being healthy, being happy, right? And I used to do this when my mother was very ill in the last stages. I used to deliberately take her out into the sunlight, and trust me, it used to make her feel very happy. तो ये अल्लाह ताला ने एक निज़ाम जो बनाया ना, एक जिसको हम अल्लाह ताला ने अपने जो मखलूक बनाई है, अल्लाह ने उसके साथ एक प्रिंसिपल, एक सेट ऑफ गाइडलाइंस दी है. यू स्टार्ट गोइंग अगेंस्ट देम मॉरली, एथिकली, फिजिकली, देयर इज गोइंग टू बी अ प्राइस टू पे, राइट? सो सनलाइट जो एक इंसान सनलाइट एक्सपोजर ही नहीं ले रहा, उसकी नींद जो है वो रात की नहीं है. People think that if you sleep equivalent of 8 hours throughout the day, it's the same thing. It's not.
Why is it not?
Because the important hormonal chemical reactions which happen throughout your body happen रात की नींद में. सुबह की नींद में replicate नहीं हो सकता.
तो रात की नींद और सुबह की नींद में फ़र्क क्या होता है?
Absolutely. Like रात की नींद में, see, when you're sleeping at night, there's certain hundreds and thousands of chemical reactions which are happening as we speak, right? The most optimum results when you study them, especially with respect to IGF levels, IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, and other important hormonal balancing in your body, there are millions of them. They are optimal रात की नींद में, not सुबह की नींद में.
तो ऐसे हो सकता है कि अगर मैं 6 घंटे रात की नींद की ले रहा हूँ तो that's better than 8 hours अगर दिन की नींद ले रहा हूँ?
Absolutely, 100%.
अच्छा.
And for that, you need to study something called REM, rapid eye movement, when you're in the deepest part of your sleep. That's when your sleep quality is actually recorded. So that is not possible in the daytime. That is only possible in the nighttime. Because there's so many important chemical functions which are happening. See, as we speak, as we're breathing, speaking, sitting here right now, there's so many balances which are happening across the body. Your defense system is fighting against cancer cells in foreign bodies, right? Your testosterone production is there. Your digestion processes are there. We can go all night about what's happening as we speak. The human body is a very complex structure. The more you study it, the more you are fascinated कि अल्लाह ताला ने कितनी अल्लाह ताला की इसके अंदर miracle है. The human body is one of the greatest miracles. I'm a student of the human body, right? And when I see how a particular client responds to a particular program, a particular regimen, trust me, it's never the same. So whenever you start going against the act of nature in any way, there's always going to be a price to pay. You cannot replicate that in a laboratory or any other atmosphere.
And आपने अभी बात की थी कि you can't replicate it. There's another school of thought जो मैंने बड़ा सुना है आजकल. It's very एक तो is the fasting element of things जिस पे मैं आता हूँ. But first I wanted to ask you, is it true कि अगर आप 7 बजे के बाद खाना खाएं तो it's actually bad for you? Like so if you eat in the day versus the night, your body is meant for that. Is that true?
That once again is relative. ये इसलिए कहा जाता है कि as the day goes by, हमारी physical activity tends to slow down, right? But if it's somebody like me, just who's training at midnight, so I have no need to, not eat heavy around 7. I would try and get in my nutrients because I know I have to train in a couple of hours. So this is, you can just bust it off as a myth.
What about fasting? Intermittent fasting?
It's a very good thing. Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent. I can't.
It's a tongue twister.
It really is. Intermittent, whatever. Fasting. What is it?
It's basically you're fasting for a particular amount of hours. Let's say around 14 to 16 hours from 24 hours, or 14 hours or 13 hours, or 18 hours, and you have a 4 to 5 hour window in which you have a set number of calories which you can have during that while.
Okay.
So that's what the whole concept is about.
And I've heard, again, I saw a podcast and there was this person who was talking and she said, "Yaar, our body is made that way." So हमें ये जो concept है ना कि 8 बजे नाश्ता करो, 2 बजे lunch करो, 8 बजे dinner करो, because this was basically what happened is we started getting busier with work and हमने वो slots बना लिए थे एक convenience purpose के लिए. And then she was mentioning कि, for example, breakfast है. Is breakfast the healthiest meal in the day? And she was giving this whole story about how Stone Age के time में they didn't eat at 8 a.m. They woke up, जब उनको भूख लगती थी, they would go out into whatever the forest and hunt. And your body actually जो पहले 2 घंटे हैं उसमें आप थोड़े से उस तरह feel करते हैं, and then your body sort of adjusts to it, and that's actually when a lot of fat is burned because your body is meant to sort of work out on a.
See, I'm sure ये वो हैं जो nutritionist. I'm sure she has her research and her reasons, so I respect that. But see, comparing the eating habits of the Stone Age to 2023, in my view, is not exactly practical.
Why?
Right? क्योंकि उस वक्त की मसरूफियात, मसले मसाइल और थे, अब क्या हो रहा है? So if anybody wants to have breakfast, let them have breakfast. It's absolutely okay. No need to go back to the Stone Age के वो तब क्या करते थे. अभी हम जिधर हैं, let's stay in the current area.
हाँ, असल में उसमें उसने एक और बात की थी, cornflakes is the most important meal of the day. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And that being a cornflakes commercial, and that being something that they sort of made to get.
That's very possible कि इस चीज़ को जो देखें, whenever corporates want to push something, they have this amazing way to do it. Right? They'll brainwash. See, you need to understand 99% of the general public, they'll believe pretty much anything they hear. आप उनको भेड़ बकरियों की तरह किसी भी डायरेक्शन में लगा दो, वो लग जाएंगे. कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है इसके अंदर. We all know that, right? It takes one news flash and we could completely throw out an age-old concept and suddenly take upon a new one. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
So if they wanted to push cornflakes for breakfast, I have absolutely no doubt कि उन्होंने उसके ऊपर वाकई में कोई मुहिम चलाई होगी कि cornflakes से ज़्यादा न्यूट्रिशियस चीज़ कोई दुनिया में नहीं है और breakfast से ज़्यादा important चीज़ या कोई मील है ही नहीं. तो I agree to that. I agree the way corporates target and mislead the masses. We all have started knowing about that as of late.
Of course. And हम तो मतलब advertising में तो you realize more and more how much of this is, Santa Claus was a Coca-Cola commercial, and you realize.
Take egg yolks for example. As of कितने ऐसा हम लोग अंडे की जर्दियाँ ज़ाया करते हैं कि ये जी कोलेस्ट्रॉल बढ़ाता है. Then all of a sudden there came another research. Oh no, that's the good cholesterol. Imagine all the metric tons of yolks that were wasted.
And ये आपने बड़ा अच्छी point raise की cholesterol, right? Cholesterol के साथ counting calories is that. So I heard again from watching different podcasts and reading stuff कि calorie counting was also made and manufactured as a concept because there are healthier calories, there are not so healthy, there are things that are good for you. Is calorie counting the end all way of figuring out how to lose weight?
I never in 13 years of my training have counted my calories.
अच्छा.
And in fact, जो सबसे ज़्यादा मेरे clients को मुझसे डांट अगर पड़ती है वो इस बात पे पड़ती है when they start calculating every bit and piece over there. Why are you making your life so complicated? And these modern day trainers have started pushing it a bit too much. Right? Everybody has to come up with a gimmick. Let's face it. There are hundreds of trainers and thousands of trainers, or any field for that matter. अगर आपको अपना product push करना है, तो you'll have to come up with a gimmick. It's just the way it is. I'm not blaming it on anybody. कोई उल्टा लटक के abs कर रहा होगा in order to look most impressive. Like it's the same thing. In fact, उल्टा लटक के I think is a bit dangerous. Don't you think? You could fall down on your head. तो कैलोरी काउंट करना, दिस इज लाइक, ये मैंने एज अ ट्रेनर नोट किया पिछले 4-5 साल में ज़्यादा हुआ है, स्पेशली सिंस द लॉन्च ऑफ दीज फिटनेस एप्स एंड स्मार्ट वॉचेस एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. देखें, एवरी ह्यूमन बीइंग वंस दे स्टार्ट ईटिंग, यू विल नो इन ऑल ऑनेस्टी वे यू नीड टू स्टॉप. ठीक है. एंड द सेकेंड गिमिक दे हैव कम अप विद, जो आजकल एक फ्लेक्सिबल डाइट के नाम से प्रमोट हो रही है, अ लॉट ऑफ माई ओन कॉलीग्स पुश इट, राइट, गुड फॉर देम. 3500 कैलोरीज है या 3000 है या 2800 है, तो आप इतना 70% यू कैन ईट हेल्दी एंड नाउ यू हैव अ मार्जिन ऑफ लेट्स से 1000 और 800 कैलोरीज जिसमें आप अपनी मर्जी की कुछ चीज़ खा सकते हो.
अच्छा,
दैट्स ट्रू. ठीक है, 800 कैलोरीज आपको लेट्स से किसी हेल्दी सोर्स से भी मिल सकते हैं, लेकिन वही 800 आपको किसी अनहेल्दी सोर्स से भी मिल सकते हैं. नाउ डज इट टेक अ रॉकेट साइंटिस्ट टू फिगर आउट which one you should go for? I'm actually surprised why people haven't figured it out. बल्कि लोग खुश होते हैं, क्लाइंट्स तो बहुत खुश होते हैं कि यार वाह व्हाट अ डाइट प्लान, यू नो आई गेट टू ईट अ पिज़्ज़ा स्लाइस एट नाइट. ऑफ कोर्स यू डू एंड यू विल गेट टू योर फिटनेस गोल सूनर और लेटर, उसमें कोई शक नहीं है. लेकिन डोंट यू थिंक द सोर्स ऑफ योर न्यूट्रिशन मैटर्स?
yeah.
Isn't every morsel of what you chew and digest a signal to your health, a signal to your DNA, right? So like I said, everybody needs to come up with a gimmick in order to sell a particular program or a particular concept. हर कोई करता है अपनी field में, everybody does it. They just have different names for it. You know, I can give you a lot of examples, but before before the podcast is over, we both will end up with a lot of enemies. It's in the medical field as well. I'm really highly tempted to come up with a few examples which are very true, but you know, let's leave it out. All the same thing being sold under a different, you know, brand name. एक उसके ऊपर एक खूबसूरत सा लिबादा जिसको बोलते हैं उड़ा के आप उसको बेच रहे हो. तो ठीक है, flexible diet is one of them. Like, you know, what sort of a trainer would you like? So if you come to me and ask you to eat 4 or 5 healthy meals a day and have like one cheat meal every 8 or 9 days, ठीक है, then you come across, you know, a trainer like Danish, for example, who says कि यार Shan, you can have 3 healthy meals and you can also fit in a KFC burger at night. आपको तो वो ज़्यादा अच्छा लगेगा.
जाहिर है.
आप कहेंगे यार उसको छोड़ो, that's more fun. See, you got the idea, don't you? So we all like the easy way out.
हाँ, और जिस तरह अब तो मैंने ये भी देखा ना, I had a friend कहता है कि मैं 6 दिन जो हूँ ना हेल्दी और अनहेल्दी का मिक्स खाऊंगा, और एक दिन ना पूरा दिन बस फास्ट करूँगा to give my gut a break, and that's how I don't know 24,000 कैलोरीज हफ्ते की होती हैं, तो मैं 22,000 कर लूँगा. सो एक दिन I just won't eat anything from 10 PM to 10 PM, 24 hours.
देखिए शान, पहली बात तो ये कि we are surrounded with so much of these foods. You know, जब मैं क्लाइंट के पर्सपेक्टिव से सोचता हूँ अपने आप को उनकी जगह रख के, तो I do actually sympathize with them, right? We relate everything with food. खुशी, गम, doubt, anger, frustration. Food is a
entertainment. पाकिस्तान की
absolutely, you know, there is no entertainment या बात पकी, any event you can think of, खाना वो खाने से related है. तो I do sympathize with the clients, right? लेकिन मैं सबको ये भी कहता हूँ, like, see, what if I were diabetic and you would present me with pastries right now, you know, would I eat them? Or would you even present them to me knowing I'm diabetic? Of course not. You are what you eat. You eventually become what you eat. That's true. It is proven scientifically. You want to eat your junk food once a while? Sure, go ahead. Right? क्योंकि उसके बगैर अब तो गुजारा ही नहीं है. It's an evil we have to accept no matter how much we disagree. You know, I'm part of it. The 6-7 दिनों में अगर आपने एक चीट मील खाना, I think that's pretty much okay. But having something like that every single day, would you agree? Do you think that's a healthy thing to do?
No, of course. I mean, I think everybody knows कि it's not a healthy thing.
Then you start calculating कि जी अब मुझे 3 दिन बाद क्या करना है. किसके पास इतना टाइम है यार? आपके पास एक इतनी सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट है कि भाई ट्रेन करो, हेल्दी लाइफस्टाइल गुजारो, 70-80% ठीक खा लो, वीकेंड को एक आध अपनी पसंद की चीज़ खा लो. I think that's pretty much manageable. That's what I do, and I've, you know, been okay with it since the last 13 years now. But having something like a pizza slice every day, मतलब वो आपको खुद भी, doesn't it appeal to be, you know, don't you feel there's something wrong in that?
If you're eating fast food every day, I think everybody agrees with you. But
even if your trainer tries to inculcate that in the flexible diet program, there should be some prevailing sense, you know, some prevailing common sense as well. तो जितना दिमाग ये कैलोरी काउंटिंग और इन चीज़ों में लगाते हैं, उतना आप इन चीज़ों में लगाओ. It's not that difficult.
और जो हमारे sort of देसी trainers होते हैं, वो ये कहते हैं कि let's say कि थोड़ा कोई I have a friend who's a bit fat, and उसको कहते हैं कि बस abs लगाते रहो ना, तो abs sort of
I think that was busted a long time ago. अब तो सबको ये I think ये
I
बात
met
पता लग
someone
चुकी है.
like 3 days ago who was doing that, and I was like, "सिर्फ abs कर रहे हो?" He's like, "मैं सिर्फ abs कर रहा हूँ."
Well, he'll figure out eventually.
Okay, that's not gonna work.
वो आप उसको साल बाद भी मिलेंगे वो तभी एब्स ही कर रहा होगा और उसके तभी एब्स नहीं बनेंगे. तो आई थिंक he'll figure out. उसको कुछ दिनों बाद रियलाइज होगा कि यार ये कोई गड़बड़ है.
कुछ मसला चल रहा है.
तो let's not advise him. Let's give him some time. Let him figure that out himself.
के साल आप जाया कर रहे.
उसको खुद figure out. अगर आप उनमें उसको अभी समझाएंगे वो नहीं समझेगा. You know हमारी एक पाकिस्तानी साइकोलॉजी है कि इधर मुफ्त के मशवरे से कभी कोई ठीक नहीं हुआ. राइट. तो ये हमारी एक साइकोलॉजी है. अगर मैं अभी उसको अभी आपके सामने कॉल करके उसको बताऊं, लाइक वी कैन एक्चुअली एक्सपेरिमेंट दैट राइट नाउ. यू कैन पुट योर फोन ऑन स्पीकर. आई कैन टेल हिम एवरीथिंग अंडर द सन कि देखो ये spot reduction is a myth, this and that. उसने घूम के करना वही है. So sometimes it's okay to just lay back, you know, enjoy, sit down, and just let them figure it out for a while.
I was actually thinking, I'll give him a call. That would be really funny. Lekin then I realized that then on the podcast I'm calling him the fat guy, and that's gonna make it like, वो is gonna come back on me anyway.
It's gonna come back on me.
हाँ नहीं mature.
और आज का आपको पता है बड़ा sensitive दौर चल रहा है. बड़े लोग easily offend हो
मैं वही
जाते
कहने
हैं.
वाला था. I don't want to create any myth. वैसी कह रहा था. The other myth जो आजकल बहुत ज़्यादा चल रहा है, and everybody's obsessed with. Everybody has a smartwatch. Everybody's walking 10,000.
My goodness, I hate that.
10,000 steps a day, 10,000 steps. आज मेरे 8,000, आज मेरे 9,000, आज मेरे 10,000. 10,000 steps being like this new fad and everybody's doing it. What are your thoughts on it?
Chalo, if a smartwatch is making somebody walk 10,000 steps a day, you know, I'm happy. इस बार नहीं सही कर लो.
मतलब as long as people are getting the job
As long
done.
as it's getting the job done.
And in terms of getting the job done, can 10,000 steps actually lead me to lose weight? Like if I don't work out or eat.
See, it's not about 10,000 steps. It's about how much you're consuming versus how much you're burning off.
Of course, right?
It's the tip of scale. It's the tip of balance. So,
But
अगर आपके 10,000 steps से आपकी caloric, you know, output ज़्यादा है as compared to the input, you will end up losing weight.
लेकिन जो 10,000 steps है, मैंने सुना है कि it burns 300 to 400 calories. Is that correct?
That once again cannot be quantified.
Okay.
That
It
cannot
depends
be.
on your
It
body,
depends on a
your
lot of
size.
other factors, your heart rate, your body weight, a lot of other things.
Okay, so you can't basically measure the calories. Essentially, it depends on your weight, your size.
Lots of factors, yeah.
And weight की अगर हम बात करें, there's this new thing going on, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that, which is, it's interesting from a marketing perspective, especially, कि they're now sort of promoting plus size models, slightly bigger people, fatter people, obese people, whatever you want to call it, people healthier people.
I think fatter is the correct word.
Yeah,
You're just trying to be too polite.
Sensitive generation, which I will get to. But what I wanted to ask in this particular context was कि even Nike, for example,
I came across that. Yeah, the plus size mannequins and all of that.
Yeah, the plus size mannequins, everything is. So for say, let's say a fashion brand to do it like Zara or something, that's different. For an athletic wear brand to do it.
My goodness, what a marketing blunder that was. You know, I think so. But lots of people received that pretty well, actually. So I personally, if you ask my opinion on it, I think that was a marketing blunder.
Why?
Well, because it shows that you're okay with, you know, promoting people who are unhealthy. Right? तब आपकी ये सोच किधर जाती है. What they're doing is they're cashing in on another market. उन्हें पता है कि there are lots of plus size clientele as well to be tapped out there. So they came up with the plus size clothing and all. It might work for some, it might work, won't work for some. So it's okay. If they want to promote it and people are okay with that, so you know, that's again a sensitive topic. वो जो obese है वो कहेगा भी मुझे फलानी बीमारी है, मेरे लिए अगर ब्रांड ने एक चीज़ निकाली है तो आप लोग ऐसी बात क्यों कर रहे हो? The sensitive part you were talking about.
Yeah, and आपने हमें बड़ा टाइम दिया, तो first I wanted to thank you for that, and then I'll ask you my last question, which is something I've been wanting to ask you for a while. Are people more sensitive nowadays? And is this sensitivity जो हमने echo chambers की बात की, manliness, masculinity की बात की, if you sort of put it all together, there is a largely sensitive world, one way or the other. Whether आप liberal हैं, आप conservative हैं, जो भी हैं, आप feminist हैं, आप नहीं हैं, आप जो भी हैं, आप बहुत ज़्यादा sensitive हैं. We're all very sensitive to opinions, to things. There's a cancel culture and there's another culture. We're very... Every opinion is considered to be bad. It's better to be neutral than to have an opinion.
It's never good to be neutral. I've never really understood the concept of being neutral.
So why do you think we're more sensitive? Is it to do with social media? Is it to do with the internet? And what are the repercussions that are going to happen? You have kids, I have kids. What's the world that lies ahead for them?
Well, I think being sensitive is not a bad thing, number one. But being sensitive to criticism, you know, that could be a problem. अगर आपकी कोई बेहतरी के लिए बात कर रहे हैं, you're so sensitive कि आपको वो offensive लग रहा है, then that's something you have to deal with. You need to lesser down on your ego. You need to be a bit more receptive that there are people who have conflicting opinions and you should be open to them. You should be open to understanding them and you should also be strong enough to defy them or deny them or accept them. Merely being sensitive is not really going to cut it for anybody. And it's not. You know, if you're too sensitive about everything, I think life has quite a lot in store for you. So you better buckle up because being sensitive won't help you in the practical life. We all know that, right? So don't worry, those sensitive snowflakes will toughen up when life throws bricks at them.
See, the sensitive snowflake will be sensitive about you saying that. So that in itself.
Sure. With all pleasure. It's okay.
अच्छा चलें यार, क्या कहते हैं, snowflakes aside, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Pakistan cinema side of things. आपकी जो fitness हमजा भाई और फवाद भाई की थी इन मौला जट तो obviously now हमने जब किया था पॉडकास्ट उस टाइम तो रिलीज भी नहीं हुई थी, अब तो it's done really well.
Hit of Pakistan.
Biggest hit of Pakistan
cinema.
Yeah. Any idea about the Moula Jatt 2 आ रही है, कुछ chance है?
I have not heard anything of that. I don't think making a second part would actually make sense, and I don't think Bilal bhai would actually do it.
Yeah.
He's too smart not to make a disastrous call like that because I think a masterpiece should remain untouched. Lots of directors in the past have gone very wrong with sequels. Don't you think? Very few have been able to pull it off.
I agree.
Very
few.
So I think something as amazing as what they've been able to achieve should remain untouched. Let it stay there for the generations to come without, trying to jeopardize that.
On Moula Jatt ke baad, have you been approached by more people from the industry, from the fraternity, for training them for films coming up? Any sort of?
I have, but and I will be announcing one pretty soon.
Achha.
It's still in the works.
Achha.
And there is one other, and I think 2-3 और लोग हैं from the industry who have contacted, and inshallah we'll be working together very soon. So when it's finalized, I will definitely come up with it. Yeah. I'll announce it for everybody.
Chale, looking forward to
and we'll see what we can achieve with them, inshallah, hopefully.
Inshallah. And do you get excited when you see, so you see your work on the big screen too, right? It's the director, the writer, but it's also you with fitness, and there must be, it's a different kind of fun for you, right?
मैं पहले भी कहा था, it's been an absolute honor to work with Hamza bhai, Bilal bhai, and Fawad bhai. It's been an absolute honor because we started out as a trainer and client, and it developed into a very special bond and friendship and brotherhood over the years. So to see the film do well in any capacity, with or without me as a factor, I'm pretty much happy for them. So I'm happy the film did very well. I'm happy that the sacrifice and the pain they underwent in a very short time frame, we could pull it off. And hats off to the actors for that, So I'm very happy, definitely. And, seeing the film do so well and my name on the credits, it was a huge honor for me. There's no doubt about it. To be associated with a project of that magnitude, I'm very thankful. I'm very humbled. I'm very grateful. So, before, we sign off this, हमने masculinity पे बात की, काफ़ी चीज़ों पे बात की. अभी तक मैंने मेन स्ट्रीम पे उस तरह की मेल सपोर्ट देखी नहीं है. Like recently, there was this international male health awareness day or something like that.
अच्छा.
The reason I'm saying something like that is आपके और मेरे सामने से वो दिन गुजर गया, कोई फ़र्क पड़ा. There were no rallies, there were no social media coverage on it. See, men are a beautiful creation of God. And when I say that, it does not mean I'm undermining any other gender.
Or anything else, yeah.
We are both men, right? मर्द ज़ात बहुत खूबसूरत है, works tirelessly, selflessly. इस day और age में जब inflation is the worst in the history of mankind, providing for the family is not an easy thing to do. Yet, जो मर्द है वो घर से निकलता है, मेहनत करता है, खुद भूखा रहेगा, ज़माने की ज़लालत सहेगा, but he will eventually find a way to provide for his family. So I think currently जितना importance female related projects को दिया जाता है, which is very good once again. So I hope nobody misunderstands what we're saying here or trying to say here. I think males require a little bit of attention as well.
Maybe a little bit of credit as well, I guess, yeah.
Yes, they're highly underappreciated. इसमें कोई शक की बात नहीं है. I think in the last decade or so, they have been majorly overshadowed. So I think that's one thing the media industry and the fraternity as a whole needs to shed some light on. Secondly, before I always sign off from any show, any podcast or any media related event, I always come up with this example के जब भी कोई कहता है ना यार कि अपने लिए वक्त नहीं मिलता, या how will we make it, how will we do this, how is that possible, एक particular health goal को हम कैसे करेंगे, with everything that's going on. तो उनको मैं हमेशा एक मिसाल देता हूँ. आई केम अक्रॉस दिस डॉक्यूमेंट्री जिसमें एक फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर को इंटरव्यू था. ही वॉज रिटायर्ड और उससे इंटरव्यू लिया गया कि ओवर द ईयर्स यू हैव कम अक्रॉस द मोस्ट हॉरेंडस केसेस, गन शॉट वुंड्स. फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर्स एज आर द फर्स्ट ऑन द सीन. एक्सीडेंट है, मेडिकल इमरजेंसी है, गन शॉट, एनी हेल्थ पेरिल यू कैन थिंक ऑफ. तो उससे पूछा गया कि विच वर द वंस हु मेड इट, कौन बचा है. तो उसने अपने कई सालों के 40 years of experience के बाद उसने कहा कि the ones who kept their eyes open while we were on the way to the hospital, the ones who kept their eyes open made it. तो मेरा भी सबको ये पैगाम है, no matter how much you want to close your eyes down, keep them open. Fight to keep them open. As long as you keep your eyes open, you eventually will make it. And you have my support in that as well. And anybody listening to this podcast feels that they are in need of somebody to talk to, any mental health related issue, anything that's weighing them down, they always have my door open for them. They can reach out to me in any manner possible. They want to discuss mental health, physical health, my doors are always open. So I'm very happy that we have an amazing platform like Pro Pakistani in order to send out a message like that. So credit goes to you and your team, Danish, yourself. So just keep your eyes open and eventually things will be okay.
Inshallah. I think that's a great place to leave it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
It's an honor. It's an honor. Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy our content, please do subscribe to our channel and we'll see you for the next podcast.